Megalodon gets all the attention. Giant shark, giant teeth, giant movie franchise. It's basically the celebrity of extinct ocean predators at this point. But Megalodon wasn't alone, and in a few cases, it wasn't even the scariest thing swimming around. Long before it existed, and long after it went extinct, the ocean kept producing predators that were just as strange, just as dangerous, and in some cases, built in ways that make Megalodon look almost simple by comparison. Here are 5 of them, starting over 500 million years ago. The first one barely looks like a predator at all. At least by modern standards, Anomalocaris lived around 520 million years ago, during the Cambrian period, long before fish, sharks, long before basically anything with a backbone. At the time, most animals in the ocean were small, soft, and defenseless. Anomalocaris, by comparison, was enormous, up to about 3 feet long. That doesn't sound huge today. But in a world where most creatures were the size of a fingernail, it was an absolute giant. It had large compound eyes, some of the most advanced vision of anything alive at the time, and a pair of spiny, grasping limbs at the front of its head, built for grabbing prey out of the water. For decades, Anomalocaris was assumed to be a shell-crushing monster, snapping up armored trilobites like popcorn. More recent research has actually walked that back a bit. Detailed studies of its front limbs suggest they weren't strong enough to crack a trilobite's tough exoskeleton after all. Anomalocaris was probably faster and more agile than brute force strong, likely chasing down soft-bodied prey instead, which, honestly, doesn't make it any less impressive. It just means the first apex predator in Earth's history got its position the same way a lot of modern predators do. Not through raw crushing power, through speed, vision, and simply being bigger than everything else around. Jump forward roughly 450 million years, and the ocean's predators had a very different problem. Dinosaurs, standing right at the water's edge. Deinosuchus was a crocodile relative that lived during the late Cretaceous, and calling it large undersells it a bit. Estimates have shifted over time as more fossils have been studied, but even conservative, modern figures put it well beyond 30 feet long. With some estimates reaching over 10 tons, its teeth were thick, rounded, and built less like blades and more like bone-crushing pegs, a design suited for a very specific job, grabbing something at the water's edge, dragging it in, and simply not letting go. And it wasn't just hunting fish and turtles. Fossilized bite marks have actually been found on the bones of large carnivorous dinosaurs, suggesting Deinosuchus occasionally added dinosaur to the menu. When the opportunity came close enough to the shoreline, its bite force estimates run extremely high. In some studies, rivaling or exceeding those of Tyrannosaurus itself. For a dinosaur standing at the water's edge for a drink, Deinosuchus was less a rare threat, and more just an occupational hazard of living near the coast. Sticking with the late Cretaceous, but moving fully into open water, there's Mosasaurus, probably the most famous name on this list. Mostly thanks to a certain dinosaur movie franchise, despite the reputation, Mosasaurus wasn't a dinosaur at all. It was a marine reptile, more closely related to modern snakes and monitor lizards than to anything that ever walked on land as a dinosaur. It could grow to somewhere around 50 feet long, powered through the water with a long, flattened tail, and it had a jaw built with a party trick most people don't expect. A second set of teeth, located further back in the roof of its mouth. Once prey was caught, that second row helped drag it steadily backward and down the throat, making escape essentially impossible once the first bite landed. Unlike fish, Mosasaurus was an air-breathing reptile, which actually made it more dangerous in a specific way. It didn't need to patrol constantly to keep water moving over gills. It could lie in wait near the surface, conserving energy, and strike with very little warning. Multiple mosasaur fossils have also been found with the remains of other marine reptiles, large fish, and other mosasaurs in their stomachs, suggesting it wasn't a picky eater, and wasn't especially concerned about attacking things close to its own size. Next up is one of the stranger entries on this list, mostly because it's less famous for being a predator, and more famous for occasionally being someone else's meal. Tusoteuthis was a giant cephalopod living in the same late Cretaceous seas as Mosasaurus, in a shallow body of water that once split North America in half, called the Western Interior Seaway. Long described as a giant squid, more recent research suggests it may actually be more closely related to modern octopuses. Either way, Size estimates put it somewhere between 25 and 35 feet long, with its arms fully extended, putting it in the same general size range as the giant squids still living in today's oceans. Here's the twist, though. Tusoteuthis wasn't necessarily sitting comfortably at the top of the food chain. One remarkable fossil find shows a large predatory fish that appears to have died mid-meal, having swallowed a Tusoteuthis roughly half its own body length. The squid had apparently grabbed onto the fish's gills on the way down. And both animals ended up fossilized together, seemingly having killed each other in the process. It's a reminder that in the Cretaceous seas, being enormous didn't guarantee being safe. Even something the size of a school bus could occasionally end up as someone else's very ambitious last meal. Last on the list, and arguably the most quietly terrifying of the five, Livyatan melvillei, a giant predatory whale that lived roughly 10 million years ago, long after the dinosaurs. Long after Mosasaurus and Tusoteuthis had already disappeared, Livyatan is a distant, much more aggressive relative of the modern sperm whale. It's estimated to have grown somewhere between 44 and 57 feet long, putting it firmly in the same size range as Megalodon itself. What sets it apart isn't just the size, though. Unlike modern sperm whales, which mostly lack functional upper teeth and feed by suction, Livyatan had a full set of enormous interlocking teeth on both the top and bottom of its jaw, some measuring over 14 inches long, among the largest biting teeth ever found on any animal. Its skull was short, broad, and packed with attachment points for enormous jaw muscles. Several bite force estimates put it among the most powerful bites of any predator that has ever lived, some studies suggesting it could rival or even exceed megalodons. But the genuinely unsettling part isn't just the bite. Livyatan was a whale, which means it had a mammal's brain, a mammal's intelligence, and likely some level of the coordinated, social hunting behavior seen in modern orcas. It wasn't relying purely on instinct and raw jaw strength the way a shark does. It was a highly intelligent predator, built with a bite that could match Megalodon, hunting in an ocean that also happened to contain Megalodon at the same time. Stacking all five up together, a pattern starts to show. Anomalocaris proved that being the biggest thing around, even without overwhelming strength, was enough to sit at the top 500 million years ago. Deinosuchus showed that a bone-crushing ambush predator didn't need to live fully in the ocean to dominate everything near the water's edge. Mosasaurus combined size, a double set of teeth, and an air-breathing ambush style into one of the most efficient hunters of its era. Tusoteuthis is the reminder that even something the size of a bus wasn't automatically safe from becoming someone else's meal. And Livyatan closed things out by pairing a bite that could rival Megalodon's with the intelligence of a modern whale. Megalodon earned its fame fair and square, but it was never hunting in an empty ocean. Every single era, before, during, and after it, produced something just as capable of holding the title of ocean's most dangerous animal. If this was interesting,
please whatever.
Hit like and subscribe for more deep dives into prehistoric predators. And drop a comment which one of these five surprised you the most. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one.